Welcome back, guys. I'm Zell, and today it's early in the morning. I'm having a little coffee. So you've got 9 seconds to get your drink of choice, and we'll start this drinking and thinking. Today we're talking about steel again. Steel composition and the differences. While I'm setting this up, I'm going to put up a video of Nixie for you guys that would like to see her. So, anyhow, steel composition. I was watching a video by Kevin Cleary earlier, and it was about your top 5 favorite blade steels. And it got me to thinking. About some stuff that happened with Todd Knife and Tool. We bought some 440C from Jant Supply. And we bought 440C on purpose. We were prototyping some stuff, and we didn't want something with a complicated heat treat. We just wanted to see if it was all going to work, see if we could pull it off. And we hardened that 440C whenever we got all done with the knife. It's the same 440C that was in the field chopper, and it's in a couple other knives that we've done, and it turned out absolutely amazing. Now, initially we thought, well, we got the heat, we nailed the heat treat. Well, I backed up and started thinking about it, and I went over to Alpha Knife Supply and started looking at the numbers in it, because I was wondering, how can we have knives that have the same steel but they're different? Just didn't make any sense why they would act differently. You guys can hear Nixie playing in the background there. She's getting kind of loud. Anyhow, like before us on the table, we have the Mr. Blade HT1. Big old piece of D2 steel. We've got a Rat Model 1, also with D2 steel. And we have a Browse Blades, I don't remember what the name of this one is. It's the little awesome one. Anyhow, also with D2 steel. And the steel is all D2, but it's all different. This stuff is absolutely amazing. It's great steel from Browse. This stuff is very good, but it can be a little chippy. Same thing here with Mr. Blade. Very good, but it can also be a little chippy. If you guys watched the video, you saw that. I've got a little chip in that blade I need to buff out. But it's all still very good D2, but it's different. How can that be? It's all D2 steel. Well, here's how that can be on the 440C, the D2, and we'll even look at some M4. I'll put the chart up here for you on the screen. So here we are with the D2. The D2 from the different manufacturers is all different. If we look at the carbon content between Bowler, Carpenter, Crucible, and Latrobe, they're not the same. They're 500ths different. And that's interesting. Then we get down to chromium, and we've got a 0.5% variance. And then what the heck? We've got manganese in some of it, and some of it we don't? That doesn't make sense. The molybdenum, I can't say that one right, so you just have to go with me. We got 0.8 in one, 0.9 in one, 0.75 in another. Silicon. Silicon's rather important in the steel. It increases your tensile and yield strength. And we've got varying numbers, and the Crucible stuff doesn't even have any. We even have the vanadium. We've got different numbers here. And that also has to do with shock resistance, the strength and hardness, and that's a little weird. But they're all called D2, see? All D2 across the top. But they're different. So, my guess is that Mr. Blade and Ontario are using, they're probably using Bowler or Latrobe. And then whenever we get to Browse blades, I'm going to guess that they're using the Carpenter steel. Maybe the Crucible. Probably the Carpenters, though. And the problem here, or it's not really a problem, but the issue here is I've got a steel and it says D2. Right there on the blade it says D2, but it's different from the other knives. So there's a little bit of lack of consistency. It's not all heat treat. You know, we've talked about heat treat before, and you can make some major issues with heat treat. You know, S35VN right now is a very good example. Some knives you get in S35VN are pretty soft. Other knives you get in S35VN are nice and hard and hold a great edge. And it's just the way the different manufacturers are probably doing their tempering process. And it's annoying to have a different steel from manufacturer to manufacturer whenever it says this is X steel here. But this is even more annoying. There we can get 4 different versions of D2. And D2, really, the variances aren't that high there. It appears to be a little chippiness or not chippy in the case of the Browse blade stuff. We get to 440C, and this is the stuff that we were dealing with. And we did innocently ordered this stuff from Jant's Supply. We didn't order a specific type, but it's very apparent that we probably got Crucible's 440C. And I say that because Crucible has more phosphorus in it, which helps to increase hardness and strength, and Crucible has more silicon in it than the Bowler or the Latrobe. So my guess is it was Crucible. It could have been Carpenter's, but we got one of these two instead of these two. But we got either Carpenter or Crucible, and we didn't get Bowler or Latrobe, because whenever we hardened that stuff up, it was fabulous steel. And this is another thing. Look at the variances here. I'm going to leave this up for a minute for you to kind of look across and see how different these steels are. They all say 440C at the top, but they're different. And, you know, that's kind of a pain. You know, and then we can even go to M4, a relatively, not really new, but a tool steel, and look at the wide variation between the 4 companies. It's it all says M4 up there, but the variances are pretty wide. So I say all this because I want you to be informed. I don't like this deal where we don't know what we're getting or things aren't the way they should be. You know, like Ganzo with their 440C. Go back to that 440C page. Ganzo is probably using Bowler or Latrobe, would be my guess, because their 440C is a little soft, it's a little chippy. It's not bad steel by any means. It's just not anywhere near as good as that stuff that we got a hold of. And that was, you know, rather amazing for 440C. So what it comes down to is, if it says a certain steel, and it's one of the older steels especially, it's going to be within a band of parameters. It doesn't mean that it's going to be bad. It just means that maybe you need to watch a video where somebody can tell you something about the steel, or read something about it, or go to Alpha Knife Supply. That's where I got all those charts. It's straight from Alpha Knife Supply. Those guys have lots of good stuff for the knife maker, and they have very good charts and heat treat information. And if you're a knife maker and you don't know about Alpha Supply, get over there and check them out. Their website's a little hard to navigate, but within a few minutes you kind of get the hang of it, and it's well worth your time for the amount of resources they'll give you. So, you know, and that's what I wanted to get across today. We have, in this case, 3 different pieces of D2 steel. and we have 2 that act similarly, 1 that doesn't. I don't think it's all heat treat. Do I think that Jason Browse has got the heat treat nailed? Yes, I think he does a great job with the heat treat, but I also think he's using a slightly better D2. Anyhow, guys, let me know what you think. Should we have some tighter tolerances and maybe some rules about naming a steel and staying within a certain set of parameters so that the user knows exactly what they're getting? Because if we knew that all 3 of these pieces of steel had to be within a fairly narrow band of parameters, and we knew what the HRC was, the final HRC after heat treat and after tempering, we could do a better job of knowing exactly what we were getting. Is that important to you? You know, I kind of think it is whenever we get past the inexpensive knives. Whenever we get up into the realm where you're paying $60, $80, $100 or more for a knife, it would be really nice to know those things. You know, one company that I'm going to pick on here for a moment, Spyderco. You know, we've got VG10 from Spyderco, and I've dealt with VG10 from other companies, and most of the other companies have very good VG10. It's a very acceptable, everyday use steel. And you guys know I don't like Spyderco's VG10, and it's just the way it is. But this stuff that they put in most of their knives, to me, is soft. And it's annoying because it's a constant stropping steel. And what I mean by that is, if it's fine for you if you hit the door and the first thing you do is strop your knife and then go put it away. But if you expect a knife to stay sharp for a few days and you use it regularly, this stuff is not great. And that's a heat treat issue. Now, the reason I bring Spyderco up, though, is this knife has VG10 in it. The Delica has VG10, and I've got other Spydercos around here that do. And Spyderco doesn't give us an HRC number. They just never have. You know, if you dig into their forums, you might accidentally find one, or if somebody's done an HRC test on one, you might find it. But they don't tell us most of the time what their HRC numbers are, which is rather annoying. So, anyhow, I'm going to talk forever if I don't wrap this thing up, because this stuff's interesting to me, and I hope it was interesting to you. I hope you got something out of this. And guys, I'm not telling you to be nervous about buying a knife because some cheap knife says they use D2, you know, and I'm going to say cheap and show on carbon fiber, but, you know, the regular model of this is around $30, $35 with D2 steel in it. Does that make it a bad knife because they've chosen a lesser quality D2? No, it doesn't make it a bad knife in any way. But it is something I think we need to be aware of, is that there are other versions, many versions sometimes, of the same steel designation. And I don't know if maybe we need to have the tighter tolerances or not, but it is, for me, gonna make a difference. As we're making knives for Todd Knife and Tool and Tilt Blades and the other section, we're gonna be paying attention to those steel composition charts, because if I buy some 440C to make a blade for one of you guys, I want to make sure that I get you the best 440C that I can get you. And I don't want to get something, call it 440C, and have it perform terribly. So anyhow, those are my thoughts on the whole steel composition thing, and maybe, hopefully you found this interesting. And anyhow, like I said, I'll ramble forever on this one because it's really interesting to me. But you guys have a wonderful day. I really appreciate you hanging out with me for a few minutes to talk about knife steels. Not really the most interesting subject in the world, but it's something that I think we should have a little more knowledge about. And you guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.